Hi there, I'm Kelly, aka Mystic, and I am Mystic Kitten Fox on YouTube and Instagram and most social media, except for Ravelry. I am Fox Kitten on Ravelry. Welcome to a pattern test video. So essentially in these types of videos, I have been accepted to do a pattern test, whether it be for knitting or crochet. And I thought I would film my process while doing these test knits. This is the first video of hopefully a series of them. And this is the first test knit that I was accepted for, and I was super excited. My goal literally for the year of 2023 was to do one test knit and get accepted to do one test knit. And at this moment of me recording this opening, I've been accepted to 3 different pattern tests, and that's really exciting for me, actually. So I will definitely be doing a video for each of those 3, and this is the first one. So since this is the first pattern test video, I thought I would just explain in general what you can expect in this video. So I'm going to, of course, be introducing the pattern. I will tell you who the designer is, what yarn I'm using, essentially when the deadline is, or how long we were given. So like if we were given 5 weeks, 10 weeks, etc. And then the rest of the video will be essentially like a vlog style of me videoing like my process and progress through the test knit / pattern test. And then at the end of the video, I will give my final thoughts about what I thought about the pattern test. We'll see if I really have any thoughts, because at this point, I'm just excited to be here. Honestly, who isn't? So, let's get in with it. So for this first pattern test, it is a test knit. It is a pattern test for knitting, if that makes any sense at all. I really hope that does. This pattern is for the Molly sweater by Rachel, aka It's So Rachel, on Instagram. The pattern called for a light fingering weight, I believe. So she had used, I believe, a cotton blend for her sample. She had essentially wanted this sweater to be kind of a light sweater for like, I believe, like spring, early fall type of season. So it would be like a light sweater, so cotton and any other natural fibers are fairly light once you knit it up. And especially during summer, it's not too warm. So that is essentially the type of yarn that she had suggested to use. I, on the other hand, used a different type of yarn. So the yarn I used is from Long Dog Yarn, and it is her sock base. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. There is 400 yards per 100 grams. And this colorway in particular is Ursula. I also want to mention that I actually got this yarn at my local yarn store. So I didn't have any sweater quantity yarn in my stash, which I need to fix that, in all honesty. I need to stop buying random yarn or random quantities of yarn. So I actually had to go get this from my local yarn store, which was very convenient, and I stared at the wall of yarn for, I'm pretty sure, like 30 minutes until I finally chose this colorway. So the initial deadline for this test knit was August 26th. She actually pushed that deadline back to August 30th, and she is releasing the pattern on September 1st. At least that is the plan for right now. So I believe that is it for the introduction of the pattern, and kind of gives you a little bit of an idea for it. I would also like to apologize in advance of any video quality for the vlog style of the video. Because I am using a GoPro 7 Black, and it doesn't focus. A GoPro does not focus, so I haven't looked at the footage yet, but I'm pretty sure that there will be some stuff out of focus and possibly blurry. So if the quality of the video is lacking, I apologize, and I won't actually know until I have finished editing this video. I apologize in advance for that, and let's go ahead and wind up this yarn. So this is my gauge swatch for my test knit. Technically, I think it's upside down, but you can't really see the bubble stitch on it, even in person. It's kind of hard to see, but I might have it like slightly stretched out, maybe too much. But this is my gauge swatch. I'm debating on if I want to, I think, go up in a needle size. I don't think I want to go down in needle size. I'm not sure if I want to go up or down, but I do meet the gauge stitch-wise. So this way I have 20 to 23 stitches, and it measures at 4 inches or more than 4 inches. But I don't need it row-wise. So the one question I've always been wondering when it came to gauge swatches was, what happens if I meet it stitch-wise but I don't meet it row-wise? Is it going to be an issue, and do I have to change my needle size or even just my yarn in general? So I was looking it up online, and actually I don't have to do anything. I meet my gauge stitch-wise, then that's fine. If I don't meet it row-wise, I can just add more rows in the actual pattern. So like if the pattern calls for, let's say, 100 rounds, I could add 110, or not add, but I could do 110 rows and the length would be fine. Like I could just keep adding rows until it reaches a length that I like. So I was like, okay, that makes sense, and that makes it easier, so I might not have to change my needle size, because honestly, I can't go any lower without having to go buy new needles, and I do not have time to go buy new needles. The needle size I'm using for this test knit that calls for, which is a 3.5 millimeter, I think it'll be fine. Hey there, so it is July 11th. I casted on my Molly test knit sweater. Is it really the 11th? No, it's the 12th. I can't read dates, oh my god. So today is July 12th. So I casted on July 11th. It's either July 11th or July 10th is when I casted on. And so I just finished the first section of the sweater, which was the ribbing part, and I really wanted to finish it by tonight because I'm going to be going on vacation to go visit my in-laws tomorrow. So I didn't want to have to bring my set of interchangeable needles with me on the plane. I really wanted to just have one set of needles with me. Hopefully you don't have them get taken away. Thankfully I finished the ribbing. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is the ribbing. And it's just a 1x1. I actually did a alternating cast on to work better with the ribbing, and oh my gosh, I wish that it would focus. This is just a 1x1 ribbing. So this is knitted from the bottom up, which I think is the first time I want to say that I've worked a pattern. No, I take that back. The tidal wave tank top that I'm working on is also knitted bottom up, but this is the first sweater I have knitted bottom up. To be fair, I haven't knitted a lot of sweaters, but you know, regardless. I did this with 3.25mm needles. You cannot see that whatsoever. It was supposed to be knit with 3mm needles, but I don't have those. I thought they came with my interchangeable needle set, but they don't. The smallest ones I have is a 3.25. That's what I had to work with because I could not go buy new needles for that. Now I can switch over to the 3.5mm needles. And so we're gonna start on the body now. Yeah, also there is a dog on me. Hey, Glow Bear. She's sleepy. She is also coming with us on our trip. I gotta make sure she's all nice and tired. So this is what it looks like so far. And I'll probably update you as I go on my trip. So yeah. Alright. So I went on a trip to go see my in-laws, and I took this with me to work on in the plane. So I put this little marker here for when I start working on it in the plane, and then I just chose not to take it out during the whole trip. I think on the plane I got up to like right here, but then I worked on it for the rest of the trip. And just chose not to take it out. So this is how much I got done. I wanted to get more done, but also I put on these nails, which made it really hard to knit. So I figured even if it was just a little bit of knitting and it was slow, it was better than nothing. So hopefully once these nails come off, I can knit a little bit faster. Hey there, so it's been 2 weeks since I started working on the Molly sweater test knit, and honestly it's coming out really nicely. These little bubbles are actually turning out a lot nicer than they did in my test watch. So I'm still on the body. I think I still have a ways to go. I haven't measured it yet, but definitely still too short in my opinion for my body, or for the length I like my sweaters to be. So definitely going to lengthen it. Been working on this, I'd say, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Right now I'm watching Encanto. I've been watching like some Disney movies or movies that I can find on Max or HBO Max or on Hulu. Just to kind of give myself a time limit so that I'm not like constantly knitting or like taking super long breaks. Also, I have a little Glow Bear on me as well. She just likes hanging out with me. Yeah, so this is my 2-week progress. I'll be taking a picture of it tonight and then posting it on, I'm not sure if I want to post it on the grid. I might post it on the grid actually, because it's technically like halfway-ish, I'd say, until the pattern is released. If anything, I'm definitely going to be posting on my threads for Whip Wednesday. I might post it to my IG stories for sure. Yeah. Okay, so this is 3 weeks of working on my Molly sweater test knit, and I have made my first screw up. So I wish this GoPro would focus. So you can kind of see here where like each bubble kind of just lands in the middle of the bubble below it or above it. So like, for example, this one here, the space ends up in the middle of this bubble. And same thing with this one. So got to the end here and I had only 3 stitches left if I did a bubble right here. And I'm like, huh, that's not right. I should be ending on a bubble. So I should have 4 stitches left. What happened? And so then I decided to finally take a closer look at my stitches. And you can kind of see it through the blur where the stitch that pulls it up and makes the other 3 stitches a bubble is on the end of the bubble below it. It's not in the middle, it's on the end. And so I wondered, how long ago did I mess this up? The answer is so long ago. So this is my beginning of the round stitch marker. This is the stitch marker where I messed up. And they are so close. So I have to undo so many stitches to get back to this one. Like, thankfully I caught it, but I'm also like, I messed up. So yeah, that's where we are at the 3-week mark. But I think once I'm done with the 12th row, right now I'm on the 6th. When I'm done with the 12th row of this grouping, I think I'll be done with the body. And then I can start splitting for the sleeves. Yeah, 3-week progress. So I meant to update you this week on the progress of the Molly sweater, but I kind of just got caught up in life. Here it is, horribly shown. Here. Still not as good shown. But I finished the body part, and I'm working on the back. I look very silly. But the body of it is done, and you can kind of see the folding of the back. Well, not so. I'm hoping that the length is good. I did an extra, I think, inch or half an inch more than what the pattern called for, because I thought that would be long enough. But also, I just wanted to stop knitting the body so that I could finally get to the back, because my objective from this weekend was to finish the body, split the sleeves, and start working on the back. So now for this week is finish up the back and split for shoulders and the neckline. So that for the next 2 weeks, which I think it's 2 more weeks of working on this. 2 more weeks of working on this, then the pattern will be released. So I really want this done before the pattern is released. So yeah, that's week 3 or 4 update. I have to figure out which one it is. Hopefully this light helps. But here is my Molly sweater. So I've got the back panel done. I can show you approximately how long it is so far. I measured it out to being about 21.5 inches. And so I'm going to knit the shoulders to being about like an inch or so. So then this will measure to being about 23 inches. And just like that, I've got the body all done. Hi, Glow Bear. So next is the sleeves. I honestly thought that I made like the armholes too big, but I think they actually turned out just right. And oh, Oh no, okay. I thought like right here was where I combined the shoulders, but it's just trick of the eye. So. So I've started on my sleeve for my Molly sweater. Now, I initially tried to do it with my interchangeable needles. So I started off with the 30-inch cord, and then I think I went down to either the 20 or 24-inch, and then either down to a 20 or 16-inch. I'm not entirely sure like how long these cords are, but I essentially went down to the small size that I had in interchangeable cables. And it just wasn't making it easy to knit in the round. So then I tried these DPN needles, or double pointed needles, that I have. And these are from the brand Prim. I've had these for like years, for just in case I needed them to fix any of my knitting. These are 4 US or 3.5 millimeters, and they were working quite well. But my only issue was that when I would transfer from one needle to the next, and it was like the last stitch, sometimes the needle would just fall off. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of annoying me. I don't know if this is making this process any quicker, because I've got less than 5 days to finish one sleeve. And then I want to give myself another 5 days to finish the other sleeve. So I was like, okay, I don't know if this is making it any faster or not. Let me order a 9-inch cable. So that came in yesterday, and so far it's nice. It works. I kind of want to get a 12-inch cable now, but I think the 9-inch actually works really well for this sleeve because there's not too many stitches on it and it's not too short, which is what I was somewhat worried about when I was transferring the stitches. But yeah, so that has been my journey working on this damn sleeve and switching the needles. It's been a little bit of a pain, but we're getting through it. I'm hoping that I can get this done by Tuesday. So I've got 2 whole days to work on this sleeve, and I don't know if it'll get done in time. Alright, so it's the end of the day. So this is where I started for the day, with my stitch marker from Hello Lavender. And this is how much I knit up for today. I sat through about 4 movies? Yeah, 4 movies. And I knit up a lot. I got through the decreases, and so now I'm just knitting in the round until I reach the length that I need these sleeves to be. So I actually have to measure my arm because the length is supposed to be 17 inches and then 2.5 more inches for like the cuff. I feel like 19 inches might be too long for how I would want these sleeves, but I'll have to measure my arm again just to make sure. So here is the finished Molly sweater. My first test knit is complete. I just have to block it tomorrow, so I'll show you that process. And then we'll be taking pictures in it probably Thursday, because it's probably going to take that day to dry. So this is a little tight. That's probably just because of how I sewed it. I may have sewn it on just a little bit too tight. Should have definitely sewn it a little bit looser. Hopefully blocking it will stretch it a little bit, but it's definitely a little bit too tight. But other than that, it's all done. So that's exciting. Don't mind the mess. I'm going to weigh my new knit. I'm going to put in this bowl. So I'll zero that out. I realize I may have needed a bigger bowl. Oh yeah, I 100% need a bigger bowl for this to make sense. I think it works though. Okay, so it's 368 grams. So that is approximately how much yarn is in here. So the reason why I'm pretty much weighing it like this, or weighing it in general, is because I don't know exactly how much yardage I used for my sweater. I know that I used approximately 3.5 balls or 3.5 skeins of yarn. But for the pattern test for the designer, they need to know approximately how much yardage was actually used. So I'm weighing the sweater, I'm getting the amount of grams, and per the yarn I used, it was 400 yards per 100 grams. So I used a bit over 1,200 yards of yarn on the sweater for fingering weight. So that will give the designer an idea of like how much yarn people are going to need in order for them to make this sweater themselves. Don't mind all the mess, and kind of showed the process of blocking this, but this is essentially what it looks like. I block the sleeves. You kind of lose the texture, sadly, it seems like, and I tried not to stretch it out too much sideways so that I wouldn't lose the texture, but it was a little bit tight sideways, so I stretched it out a little bit, and I didn't stretch it out too much like lengthwise because it was pretty good length. Definitely tried to make the collar a little bit wider so that it'd be less tight. But this is what it looks like blocked. Okay, so I'm just here trying to get finished object photos. Just out on the patio. Trying to do that. And then we've got Chloe over there. Just chilling with me outside. This is a lot better. Okay. Come here. Do you want to be part of it? So I think we got all the pictures I need. And we got a little Colbert who made an appearance. So here are my thoughts on the Molly sweater, because this video will be out after it's been released, but the pattern's officially released now. So definitely go check it out. I will have a link to it down below. So let's get into it. So the Molly sweater was my very first test knit. I was absolutely honored to be able to have been chosen to do it. I knit a size 3, so I believe that was a 40-inch bust. And the yarn I used was fingering weight, which was the suggested yarn. And I didn't use 100% cotton or any kind of cotton mixture. Mine was, I believe it was non-superwash merino. Hold on, I got it right here. So my yarn was 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. I kind of want something that would be a little bit more warm versus Rachel intended the pattern to be something that could be worn in like spring or early fall. I would want to wear it from like fall to winter. So I wanted it to be a little bit warmer, so I figured the superwash merino would help with that versus the cotton, which is more breathable fabric. The stitching of it was very interesting. I have never seen or heard of the bubble stitch in knitting. I have heard of like the bobble or bubble stitch in crochet, and I've done it before. And it's a very wonderful texture. But it's definitely a different texture in knitting compared to crochet. Because I feel like in crochet, no matter what you do, no matter what you use, and like no matter what size the bubble is, you can definitely tell. Like it's there and it's noticeable. The bubble stitch in knitting, I had to kind of get used to how to create the bubble stitch, because it felt like the tutorials I watched, they were doing the tutorial English style, and I think that's more throwing versus continental, which is picking. So I knit continental. I can knit English, but I'm a lot slower when it comes to English, and I'm a lot faster when it comes to continental. So when I was using the different tutorials to try and figure out, okay, how is this going to work for me? How can I make it look like the example that Rachel put out for the Molly sweater? I wanted to look very similar to hers. And it took me a little bit to kind of get the feel for how to do this stitch. And it was a lot different when I knit flat versus when I knit in the round. Because when I knit in the round, it definitely felt like the texture was more there. But when I was knitting flat for my test swatch, it didn't feel like it was really there. And then when I blocked my test swatch, I was slightly worried and disappointed because the texture definitely disappeared compared to when I was initially knitting it. So this is the test swatch, and like it almost looks flat. Like there is no texture whatsoever to it. So I got gauge, but I was still so worried that my sweater, if I blocked it, was going to lose its texture. And I'm not sure if it's noticeable in the previous clip of when I was taking pictures of the sweater, but there is more texture to it. Actually, I have the sweater. Like you can see a little bit more of the texture on it compared to like my test swatch. It's still like it's there, but it's also a little bit flatter. In general, knitting the actual pattern was fun. It was very interesting because this was a new stitch that I have never knit before. And it was my first time knitting bottom up. To be fair, I have only ever knitted one sweater, and that was a top down. So this is the second sweater I have ever knit. Because everything else I have knit so far has either been a shawl, a scarf, or a cardigan. So I haven't really knit too many sweaters. But it was very interesting to kind of see the difference between knitting from the bottom up and knitting from the top down. In all honesty, this is my personal preference, but I think I prefer knitting from top down just because I can try it on, see if it fits my shoulders, and then when it comes to the length, I can definitely keep trying it on and be like, okay, I want it a little bit longer, I want it a little bit longer. When it came to knitting the Molly sweater from bottom up, I kind of decided to add about like an inch or two extra compared to the suggested length that was given in the pattern. Because I like my sweaters a little bit longer, so I didn't really want a like crop top type sweater or even one that just laid right at like the belt loop on my pants. I didn't really want it there. I wanted it a little bit longer. So I was like, I need to account for that. And so let me just add an extra inch or two. So I did extend the length a little bit, and it is fairly long on me, but I mean, it'll work. It works. It's a good length for me personally. I think the only issue I had was knitting the collar. Because, again, I've knitted from top down. I worked a folded collar at that time. And so when it came to finishing the collar, you needed to fold it. And there wasn't clear instructions on how to do a folded collar. So I had to go and look that up. And there are so many videos out there. It's fairly easy. And, you know, you're able to see what fits best for you. But that was a suggestion that I gave Rachel in my feedback of, hey, I didn't really know how to do this, so I had to look it up, so it wouldn't hurt to necessarily include that in the final pattern. But overall, I did enjoy knitting this piece. Will it be something that I knit again? It is a possibility. I might do in a different color. The overall structure I really do like, even though the texture isn't super prominent. It is still something that is noticeable in the sweater. I think that's it, and I hope you enjoyed this pattern test video, and I hope to see you in the next one. So if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, or even just comment what you're working on, if you've done any pattern tests, or if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!